Um, so this is a workshop on advanced searching in PsycINFO. My name is Kelsey Vukic. I'm the Social and Behavioral Sciences Librarian for USC Libraries. And then my colleague Alyssa Brissett is also here. She's our social work librarian, and she'll be monitoring chat during the session. So if you have questions along the way, it's probably best to put them in the chat, and we'll try to keep an eye on that and answer them. So the objectives of this session is to understand how to use PsycINFO's searchable fields. This goes beyond just doing like keyword searches or like Boolean searches that we covered in some of the earlier workshops. Also how to set up article publication alerts, how to export citations, and then how to use and locate the thesaurus and subject terms feature that's available in the platform. PsycINFO is a psychology database. It provides access to journal articles, abstracts, research reports, dissertations. And with psychology, it's such a broad umbrella that, so much can be encompassed under this that multiple disciplines use the PsycINFO database beyond just, say, like psychology majors or researchers. With APA, they're the ones who are the vendors for PsycINFO. They put a lot of effort into creating the APA PsycINFO record, which goes along with every of the publications that usually generates when you do a search. And they separate key pieces of information from the reference into distinct fields. And so this is actually an entire list of searchable database fields. The 9 that are in bold are available through discovery services. So if you were to use the USC Libraries just general search on our homepage, you could still find content in PsycINFO using these different search options, such as abstract, author, ISBN, journal title. But when you're actually in the APA platform, you can go above and beyond with these additional 30 fields. And it really does provide a huge advantage and help you quickly target results. So this kind of goes beyond just finding content. It's finding some very specific types of content, such as finding out more information about grants, locating publications by authors that are affiliated with certain institutions. And I'll show you how to do that a little bit later on. But it really can open up how you use this platform to conduct searches and find information and resources. So there's 3 types of descriptive vocabularies that are found in APA PsycINFO Record, and I'll go over a little bit about each of those. Keywords are the terms that authors use to describe their research, and they're often the terminology that we as researchers kind of think about when we approach our research. There's no necessarily standardization, and so sometimes they can seem random. The next category is index terms, and these are actually assigned by APA staff, and they're controlled vocabulary in the APA thesaurus. And so we're definitely going to go and take a look at the thesaurus and how to find index terms and controlled vocabulary in order to conduct a search. The third category are classification codes. These are also assigned by APA staff, and they're general categories of primary subject matter. And they function a lot like how libraries organize our physical book collections, say like in the Library of, USC uses the Library of Congress for our classification codes. And so they'll be like general groupings. So psychology usually falls under either BF, or like they also appear in R, especially when it comes to like treatment and like the internal psychotherapy and things like that fall under these like general umbrellas. So the classification codes kind of work like a big bucket or umbrella. And in the example, Rather than having to worry about including your search terms in a possible variation of author keywords or index for a personality test, you can simply include the APA PsycINFO classification code for personality scales and inventories. So that's definitely going to have like a larger umbrella effect. Another example to illustrate how helpful classification codes can be, say you want to do research about drones, add the classification code engineering and environmental psychology to find research on robotics, or use animal experimentation and comparative psychology for the social behavior of bees. That's, you know, very specific examples. So the APA thesaurus of psychological index terms provides a controlled vocabulary for describing content variations in a standardized way. There are many different ways you might describe a certain concept or phenomenon, and this example shows 17 variations of an author keywords and other common terms used for searching a single concept, which is intellectual development disorder. So with APA thesaurus, it maps each of these variations to one index term. And that means you can search this one index term rather than all those variations and still find relevant results in APA PsycINFO. You might have noticed the way APA uses the term thesaurus is actually the opposite of what you typically expect when you are writing and decide to consult a thesaurus. So instead of looking up one term and finding multiple synonyms, APA thesaurus works in reverse. It actually uses their controlled vocabulary to map many related terms to one single index term. And then you can use that to build your search. Also, using index terms in your search will help you to quickly find all relevant results about a specific concept, regardless of the terminology or keywords that the author may have used. So that helps with like mapping and things like that. So I'm actually going to go into PsycINFO. I have the live link here, and that's another reason why I always provide access to the slides to make it easier for you. But we're going to look at the APA thesaurus and do a demo searching for drunk driving and repeat offenders. And then we're going to go and look at different search fields that we can use, including searching tested measures, author affiliation, and grants and scholarship. And then we'll go on and show you how to set up publication alerts and export citations. So I'm going to this window. And so this is the default kind of view that you see when you enter PsycINFO. And it defaults to a basic search. We have a single search box here. In order to access the thesaurus, you actually click on Advanced Search. And then we see a link to the thesaurus above the search boxes. So I can click here. And using the thesaurus, again, I want to find the index term, like what's the index term to refer to for drunk driving. So I'll put in my term, click on it. And I actually see here, it's saying that I need to use driving under the influence instead of using drunk driving. That's the index term for that concept or idea. If I click the box, I can open it up further and gain a little more information. So it tells me this term is used for drunk driving. It was created in 1988, and there's some related terms that may be of use. If I were to, I want to add this particular term to my search, so I'll click Add to Search. But what you can do with explode versus major, if I hit explode, it'll also add all those related terms. And major would just be like the major hierarchical terminology to use for the search. But I'm gonna just select the driving under the influence and then click Add to Search. And now we see it's been pulled in. it identifies that this is a subject term and I'm looking for the exact presence of it in my search, but I also want to actually go back to the thesaurus and look at repeat offenders. And I don't see an entry for repeat offenders, so that must not have an index term available. So I'll just go ahead and close this out and do a search with just driving under the influence. And hit search. I have 2,000 results. I cannot answer their survey right now. I can see the source type in the filters on the side. I can decide if I want to limit to peer reviewed. I can adjust the publication date range. So I can do all these things pretty quickly. I want to do scholarly journals because I don't want to necessarily find dissertations. And then you can kind of go through and look and see what types of results you're getting. And I'm going to click on this one. And then looking at the details of the article, I can see this is where it's listing all the subject terms. So those are those index terms. We see here driving under the influence. It's hitting on my subject term that's present. This is that classification code. And so the classification for this is transportation. There's a lot of other information that I can pick up from this record. So this actually uses some tests and measures for this research, and it tells me which ones they are. The ones that have DUIs, it's likely that we have a description of it in one of our databases or access to it. So if I had to click on it, it would take me to that particular test and measure. I see methodology is identified here. So it's an empirical study as well as a quantitative study. The authors as well as their affiliations are present, and just with everything in PsycINFO, anything that is hyperlinked, we can click on it and it'll take us somewhere. So in this case, you click on the author and it'll show you all of the other publications that they have available to us through PsycINFO. This one even provides email addresses. So if we wanted to reach out to the authors, it gives you that option. What's nice and what we'll be talking about a little bit later is that it's identifying a specific grant or scholarship or sponsorship they received for this, for funding of this study. So that's interesting. It looks like it's in Brazil. And so also country of publication is Netherlands. So it's probably, the location was in Brazil, but they published their article out of a publication in the Netherlands. So there's a lot of information that you can pick up just looking at the description. I'm going to go back to the results and just show you a couple other things that go beyond just kind of subject searching and even go beyond just looking at the results. You can check out a couple more things such as publication title. You can see kind of where all these articles are being published. So if I wanted to identify or to include certain ones or exclude certain certain journals, that's something that I could do. So we see that they rank them by count. So this is the highest accident analysis and prevention, has the highest amount of publications with my subject search of driving under the influence. There's a lot of the next, ranked one is addiction, drug and alcohol dependence. So these are definitely some specialized journals that deal with drug and alcohol use. Another thing we can look at is other subject terms that are present in these articles. So, driving under the influence is one, it's the top one. What if I look we can see it's broken out. We have male, female, human, alcohol drinking, risk factors. But actually, we see the term recidivism, and I'm reminded that actually recidivism, it means, you know, seeing individuals like commit these instances over and over or more than once. And so actually that would have been a good terminology to use instead of repeat offenders, is recidivism. So actually I can now apply that subject term to my search without having to go back to the thesaurus and like finding it again. Because now it's just part of our filters. So we see here all of our filters. We have scholarly journals, 2010 to 2029, and then recidivism is the other subject term that, that is present. We can also see APA allows you to filter by age group if we're looking for a specific age group, rather like younger, or like a wider range of adulthood, 30s, middle age, young adult, age 65 and older. We could definitely narrow down to that age group if we wanted. And then we could also select a methodology. This is a choice that's given to you up front in the advanced search section, but it also lets you still apply these after the fact. So maybe I want to look at a longitudinal study. And there's 5. And actually this first one sounds really apt for what I'm looking at. So predicting DUI recidivism of male drunken driving. Actually, that wasn't the one I wanted. Let's take a look at it anyway. We can see here, driving under the influence and recidivism, those subject terms are highlighted. This one actually includes mesh terms. Mesh comes from PubMed, and it's kind of a similar idea with the APA controlled vocabulary, but this is for medical terms. They're also present in some cases in APA and can be searched using mesh terms. And then we see here the methodology is identified. I think I want to go back. There was a different one that I wanted to look at. So I'm going to remove a couple of these filters. So this is the actually the article that I had found earlier when I was practicing. So predicting DUI recidivism. I click on the title. Again, we're seeing a lot of the similar things that I've been pointing out. But in this case, I want to look at the tests and measures that they're using. So they are using 3 different tests. Driving expectancy questionnaire, health attitudes and practices scale, and then sensation seeking scale. And that one actually sounds really interesting. I'm curious how other people are using it within their studies, and if it's going to come up with a lot of different research around drinking and alcohol use. So I'm going to go back to my results. And I'm actually going to do a new search, and I'm going to search just for that particular test. So I actually want to go back to the advanced search so that I can see those drop boxes. I'm going to put my term sensation seeking scale in my search box. And then actually this is where all of those search filters, that list of about 40 different search filters that I showed in the slides, you can actually access them. So I can scroll down and find test and measure, and then look up the specific test or assessment. So of these 2,000 results, all of them should have listed in their test and measurement section the sensation seeking scale. So this one pertains to driving. We see it in information technology, impulse buying. So we can kind of see it's like definitely a behavioral scale. And let's see, which one did I want to click on? You'll notice too, some of these, we have this like find it at USC. The full text of the article may not be particularly in the PsycINFO database, but we might actually have access to it in another database. But PsycINFO still is searching it and finding the content, and then clicking on that find it at USC will take you to the full text. This one sounds interesting. Distinguishing impulsive, unsocialized sensation seeking. You can look at the subject terms associated with it. This is more antisocial behavior, crime, personality traits, where we see sensation seeking is also a major subject term. But then we also see our sensation seeking scale. And actually now I'm learning that there are some subscales included. So thrill and adventure, boredom, susceptibility, experience seeking, and more. So this is really interesting to learn more about this. In some cases, you might come across a listing for an assessment and it'll say amended. And that means that it's likely that the author has included a copy of the scale, usually within their appendix, or they include some portion of it within their methodology section. And so if you're looking for a assessment and a full text of it, that's another way to identify one by finding it here. So again, this is a country of publication was Germany. The location was Spain. So I want to go back. And that's how you can search for test and measures. That predicting DUI recidivism article that I had found that used the sensation seeking scale and first alerted me to it. It also had funding, and it had acquired grants from the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, and also from RAND Drug Policy Research Center. So if you are conducting research and looking for grant opportunities and you find an institution that's funding certain research you come across, it might be of interest to you to see what else they're funding, if that helps with your making a proposal or for how you want to approach seeking grant funding. So you can also search by grant. So if I'm going to do National Institute on I'm going to change my search field to grant. And then I can go ahead and do a search. And there's 14,000 different results of different research that has been funded by the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. Every time we do that search, our filters are cleared. And so if I want to look at more recent grants, I can adjust the date range. And we can see a lot of these, the full text isn't necessarily available in this database, but we most likely have it somewhere through our USC subscription. So that's another way to kind of conduct a search and look for some of these like specific things outside of just finding literature. It's, you know, expanding on how to use this as a tool. Another thing that we might want to do is go back and see if anyone at USC has obtained funding from the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. So I'm going to keep this in my my first search box because we've already identified the grant, the granting body. But then I'm going to actually put in University of Southern California. Because we can also search by affiliation. Oh, that's not helpful. And again, opening our search box, we would select author affiliation. We actually have 188 results going as far back as 1998. Again, I can maybe look at the last 2 years and see who's getting grant funding from the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. Let's see if there's one that has full text here. So our author number 2 is part of the Department of Preventative Medicine at USC. It even provides their email. And then here's the grant information as well as the grant number. So you can find that information by doing the affiliation and grant. One of the things that I like to do is kind of keep an eye on what's being published at USC. So I could actually just do an affiliation search at USC. And then see a little bit of everything. I'm going to keep that filter for the date range just so I can see recent publications. I can see it does include dissertations and theses. So actually I want to see things that are being published in scholarly journals. So that filter I'm going to turn on. And then I want to look at the subject terms that are most common. We see there's a lot with human research, adult risk factors, adolescence, aging is a common one, Alzheimer's disease, children, symptoms, mental health, a lot of different subject terms. I can look at the publications where my colleagues are publishing. There's a lot in drug and alcohol dependence, neuroimaging, addictive behaviors, AIDS and behavior. So you can kind of get a grasp of where people are publishing, what types of articles and topics they're publishing on. So it's really neat to kind of see what people at USC are focused on. It might be a good way to find someone else with similar research interests to collaborate or you know, learn from each other, work together. One of the things that I have done is I actually have an alert set up for publications affiliated by authors at USC. And to do an alert, and you can do it for whatever subject or search you choose, you can name your an alert. So I could do USC pubs. I can put in my email and it'll send me a digest, any alternate like message to myself or anything that I would want to know. It tells me what my search ranges or what it is that I'm searching. So I know my filters as well as my search term that I used. And then you can choose what you're going to have sent to you. So whether you want newly published documents or newly added, including historical items. I usually just want the newly published so I can like now I'm having the research work for me. It's coming to me instead of me having to go out and find and dig and look for it on a regular basis. I can do a monthly digest, and then you can select how long you want your alert to last. So I always tell, like, especially dissertation students or people who are working on these long-term research projects, this is a really nice tool because, again, that research is coming to you. If you are, you know, conducting a search and you end up doing your subject searching or using keywords, you can have that saved search finding new publications and sending them to you. And again, you can select how often you want them to be sent and when you want it to be suspended. So this is a really neat tool. It's really helpful. The other thing I mentioned that we'd be covering are exporting citations. So once I find articles that I want to save or export, I can click on them. They're being added to this folder. And then I can have the option to export. I use RefWorks, and ProQuest actually owns RefWorks, so it's really streamlined when you are doing your research in ProQuest, whether it's an APA PsycINFO or one of their other databases, but it makes it really easy to just export citations to that service. I want to deselect the items when I'm done because I want them to be removed from my folder, and all I have to do is hit continue. It opens up a new browser. Continue. I want to export to the newest version. I log in. Hopefully oops, I forgot password. And RefWorks lets me assign where I want it to go. So if I have a folder that I've already been working on, I can select that. So my instruction demo is a perfect one to go into that folder, and then import, and it'll go there with all my other items in that folder. My colleague Melanie did a really great workshop on RefWorks, and it's posted on our workshop recording page. So I'm not going to linger on this, but now we can see those two articles that I selected are now part of my instruction demo folder. Back. I think that's everything I had planned on covering. Are there any questions about what I covered or any of the specific search strategies or search options? There's a lot of different ones, and you can always play around with it. Trying to think what other ones that might be popular beyond what I showed you, or like searching by author, searching by publication. The session on RefWorks is on our workshop guide where you originally signed up for the session. There is a page titled Recorded Workshops. And let's see, let me go back to presentation slides. And it's actually, the link is available in the presentation. Oh, and thank you, Alyssa, for providing the link as well. On the...
I think that's the wrong link. I will provide the correct link. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I'll open it. So the workshop recordings link.
Sorry.
That's okay.
All right, the right one is in the chat. Yeah.
So yeah, you can access all of our previously recorded sessions, and this one will also go up on the web. I'm going to end the recording.